I was pretty affected by Charlie Kirk's murder. His murder really shook me up because one of my core ideals, the reason I'm on Nostr in the first place, is free speech. I deeply, deeply believe in the First Amendment and the free speech of all people all over the entire world. And what's clear in watching the videos about Charlie and the way he lived his life was that he lived in service of free speech as well and died during the act of engaging in free and open dialogue. It's not about Charlie's political beliefs or opinions. It's about the fact that he has a right to say those opinions. His children are now going to grow up without a father because Charlie had the courage and the bravery to stand up for what it means to be an American. He had the courage to continue to debate civilly with people, to engage civilly with people. And for that, they fucking murdered him, dude. We can agree to disagree on so many different topics, and we can and should. And that is what it is to be an American and to be a free person across the world. But what we cannot accept is violence as it relates to speech. What they want is clear. It's obvious. They want nobody to speak. They want you silent. They want your children to grow up without a father. And all because they couldn't win the fucking debate. It's disgusting. Charlie Kirk is an American hero. I woke up yesterday not even thinking much of Charlie Kirk at all. Not liking him or disliking him, just not thinking much about him. Charlie Kirk, he's just a guy. He's just a middle-of-the-road conservative guy who, whatever. I woke up today after his assassination knowing, not thinking, knowing that this man is an American hero, a patriot, who deserved to see his children grow up. I mean, that's what we're doing here on Nostr, is we're trying to deliver free speech to as many people as we possibly can. I would say that's the binding ethos of everyone on this platform. Even those who, vehemently disagree with each other. And there is speech that I absolutely abhor and hate on Nostr. But those people have a right to continue speaking. And I have zero right to silence them. This idea that speech is violence, that, you have free speech, but with consequences, is bullshit. You have free speech with no consequences. That's what it is to be an American. Even those of you who are celebrating Kirk's death have the right to do so, and I have the right to call you disgusting, and you are. But that is the core of what it is to believe in free speech. You have to stand up for the speech that you absolutely hate. And when a man is murdered in an open dialogue, an open, respectful dialogue with others in front of a crowd, because he had the courage to get up and speak, I hope that you will recognize that for what it is and how evil it is to champion it. I hope you will realize, despite your political beliefs, where that leads and how nothing good can come from it. A world in which nobody is allowed to speak is a world in which we are all fundamentally worse off. Our children and grandchildren will be led like sheep to the slaughter. So I will defend free speech at every turn. Even if, like Kirk, it ultimately one day cost me my life, because it's too important. And if people want to take your speech away, the only logical conclusion is to use your speech as loud as humanly possible until the minute the guillotine falls on you, as it did to Charlie Kirk yesterday. He was a courageous example of what it is to be a real American. He was a patriot. He was a hero. I hope his children grow up to know what a good person he was, what a good man he was. And I'm sorry that they won't get to grow up with him. Use your speech for good. Always speak truth to power. Always remain cheerful, upbeat, optimistic, and positive. We are going to win. The anti-human scumbags that want to subjugate us all will not win. Freedom wins. It said freedom on his shirt.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee. His grace uncrowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
I think that's the hardest part at the end, in the beginning there, with the kids. I mean, it was weird yesterday. I was here, and just taking the news in as it was unfolding. It was right when the boys got out of school, and I met the oldest to get a haircut, and I had one of those. I met my wife and the oldest at the corner where the barber shop is, and had one of those moments where he ran into my arms, gave him a big hug, and I think that has been the thing that's come most into perspective over the last 20 hours, however so, is the fact that his kids aren't going to be able to grow up with him. And I think we cold opened with Hodl's vlog because we both agreed that I don't think we could articulate our feelings much better than he did there. I think a lot of what we've discussed over the years on this show and outside of this show is very much aligned with what Hodl just explained there about free speech and how important. Tough day for the world.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Yeah, I mean, I would. Yeah, that cold open was American Hodl's latest vlog. You can find it on Nostr if you want to comment or zap him. But I mean, look, we're both parents, right? So that part has this whole thing is incredibly fucked up. I was never a big Charlie guy. I mostly, didn't even pay attention to things he was doing, to be quite honest. But seeing it unfold and seeing it happen and seeing someone just take him out like that is incredibly gruesome and incredibly fucked up. And he clearly loved his family. And it's hard. It's hard to witness that.
Yeah, and to do it in this public, and here, like I was never, I wouldn't even say not a fan, but I never really fell down the Charlie Kirk rabbit hole. Obviously, I'd see his clips shared on Twitter and other places and would watch them from time to time, and certainly did admire his modus operandi, which was engaging in free speech, Socratic dialogue with people who vehemently disagreed with his worldviews, his political views, his views on religion. And that's the note I sent out yesterday, is this wasn't only an assassination of Charlie Kirk, but as Hodel said, it was an attack on the medium of itself of civil discourse, which is a pretty big attack, a massive attack. And things are a weird week when you crescendoing with the events of yesterday. Obviously, here in the United States, the video of the Ukrainian woman, Iryna Zarutska, I believe her last name is, escaped a war to come live in the United States, and she was murdered in cold blood on a train. And then you pair that with the civil unrest going on around the world, whether it's Nepal, Indonesia, prime ministers resigning in Japan, France. It's a very weird time in the world. I feel, and I think we both would agree that it's just hard to, especially since everything's so fresh, to try to react to this live on air.
Yeah, I mean, I was personally just been shook this week. It just feels tough out there right now. Struck with the feeling that it gets worse before it gets better. And I mean, on the topic of that stabbing, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Iryna. That video is fucking gruesome too.
I can't even bring myself to watch it.
I watched the video. I watched both videos.
I watched the Charlie video, and
I mean, it's fucking crazy. She's sitting in the train going home from work in Charlotte, and this black guy behind her just fucking stabs the shit out of her. Completely unprovoked. She's just like reading her phone, sitting in front of him. And then there's 4 other black people sitting in the car at the same exact time, and 2 of them just get up and walk away. No one does anything. And then like there's a bunch of reports like the media gaslighting people, saying like it wasn't racially motivated, but meanwhile he was saying, I got that white girl. And he was arrested and let go 14 times. Fucking infuriating.
Yeah. There is
Yeah.
certainly a cultural rot that is running not only in this country, but in the West more broadly. And I don't think, maybe it is, but like I do think there are people who are accountable for, or not being held accountable, but are responsible for, and who should be held accountable for letting things get to this point, letting lawlessness reign supreme. And I do think that there is a degree to which people want this social incohesion and are trying to divide and conquer, and are happy that the events of the past week, as it pertains to Iryna and Charlie, I think there are people that want the vitriolic responses and the continued division amongst the people, to distract and to use that to take more civil liberties and usher us into a dystopian future. But yeah, civility. We talk about it a lot on the show. It's important to be civil. Now that was, again, the most impressive thing of the way Charlie went about what he was doing. I didn't realize how young he was either. I knew he was young. I didn't realize he was 31.
31.
I thought he was around our age. As he meet people, sit down. He was very polite too, which he had very, and many people would consider them radical views, but I think anybody who has a firm understanding of the political spectrum that exists today, from far right to far left, he was pretty moderate in his views. all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, and we've talked about this in the past, like social just exaggerates all this shit. And just fans people into a rage. But I think regardless of how you feel about his views, like the celebration that we've been seeing in a big way, like lots of celebration, outward celebration over someone getting fucking assassinated in front of his children is it's
evil.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
evil,
completely disgusting, and shakes your faith a bit, right? Shakes your faith in humanity a bit. Like you can hate him if you want, but you can also just like put your phone away. You don't have to make the post.
Yeah.
As Hodel said, and once again, this is why we cold opened with him, like, because I think he speaks better than I can on the subject. You have the right to say it if you want to, but consider just putting the phone down and going and touching grass and hugging your family and being productive.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. It's, I do believe we're in a spiritual battle. And I know, a lot of the viewers don't like when I bring religion or faith into it, but whether you believe in God or a particular God or not, like, I think at the very least you should admit that good and evil exist, and we are in a very, very large battle between good and evil right now. And evil got a win yesterday, and I think the only way to combat that is to try to bring more good into the world and to have civil discourse. Don't stoop to the level. And that's what I worry about, is you're seeing a lot of rhetoric on Twitter about this getting kinetic, right versus left, if you will. And that's not going to end well. It's never ended well throughout history. I have plenty of examples of this. So try to do good. And I think we can transition. What is the solution? Do good. Focus on what you can control, which is, I think, something that we focus on heavily here. And we'll shift the conversation towards that to paint a more optimistic future of how we can build our way out of this, create the future that we want to see. I think getting caught up in the vitriol and the rhetoric can be counterproductive. Let's focus on what's in front of us, what you can control, what you can do to make a positive impact in the world. And so I say we go to Clark's dashboard, sort of hit a refresh.
Before you do that, just real quick, Soap Miner zapped 21,000 sats on Primal in our Primal live chat. Thank you, Soap Miner. Appreciate you.
All right. I had a little bit of a pump this week. Current price of Bitcoin is at 114,520 cuck bucks. One cuck buck's going to get you 873 sats. We're at a $2.28 trillion market cap. We are at block height 914,259, which means that we are currently 1,005 blocks away from the next difficulty adjustment, which is looking like a massive upwards adjustment of 8.2%. Blocks been coming in at 9 minutes and 14 seconds on average. The last difficulty adjustment, which I believe happened right after last week's show, was an upwards adjustment of 4.9%. So a lot of hash rate coming on the network. I believe I saw yesterday temporarily hash rate hit 990 exahash. So approaching a zettahash very quickly here. There are currently 5,330 transactions in Clark's mempool. If we go over to mempool.space, we'll see they have 84,438 transactions in their mempool. No fee market right now, or very minimal fee market right now. If you have a high priority transaction, you're looking at a 3 sat per VByte transaction fee to get into the next block. If you're willing to wait, 1 sat per VByte should get you in in a relatively short amount of time.
It's
And
fucking insane. You can literally just, at any point in the day, you can just send a 1 sat per byte and it'll get confirmed almost immediately.
Yeah, and if you look at 3 of the last 5 blocks there, nowhere near full. So you probably depend on 1 sat per V byte and be fine. Even less? No. Even less? No. All right, speaking of building our way out of this was really cool to see this week. Obviously, we've been talking about Bitchat a lot, and I think Jack Dorsey put it perfectly when he quote tweeted Callie the other day, there when you need it. I'm sure many of you have seen this, but let's dive into the subject. There's been massive protests in Indonesia and Nepal over the last couple of weeks. Nepal this week, Indonesia last week. Both governments have basically tried to stifle speech in the country by throttling social media usage. And so the citizens of these countries are turning to the tools that work and that the government can't stop. And Bitchat is one of those. So Logan, go to the chart. You can see here, Nepal and Indonesia have tens of thousands of people downloading the app. And Matt, why don't you give a quick refresher on how Bitchat works and why people are turning to it in these countries?
First of all, to Jack's comment there, when you need it, like, this is how I feel about pretty much all freedom tech. That's the whole point. It's how I feel about Bitcoin. When there's no other option, there's Bitcoin. When there's no other option, there's Nostr. And Bitchat leverages both. So Bitchat is a censorship-resistant mesh networking chat app that lets you either chat with people that are near you, and then it doesn't need internet, right? So it'll hop from Bluetooth. You use Bluetooth to hop from phone to send group messages or private messages. And a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, they released global communications that use the independent Nostr relay network. And they did it actually in a very clever way. So it uses Nostr relays based on what region you're in. So if you're in Southeast Asia, it uses relays based in Southeast Asia. If you're in North America, it uses relays based in North America, rather than using a set like server list. So this is, similar to existing server client infrastructure, but different in that the Bitchat maintainers do not have to run any server infrastructure. It's independent, already being run by Nostr operators. And second of all, you have redundancy. You can the app can automatically broadcast to multiple relays. The user at the end of the day doesn't even know they're using Nostr. So all these people are using Nostr and they have absolutely no idea. The way it works is, instead of having like a fixed Nostr key, which is what you see in the social environments, like on Primal or Amethyst or whatnot, it's a ephemeral key. So it creates a key on the fly and then deletes the key. And when you use the app again, you have a new key. And the chat rooms are based on geographic areas. So here, we can be in America, we can use the Nepal chat room, but it's the Nepal chat room, right? So the topics are effectively, what geography you live in or want to discuss, which kind of reminds me of like, I don't use Reddit that much anymore. My wife still does, specifically for like location-based stuff, right? Like r/New York City can be very helpful to people that are either traveling to New York City or live in New York City or wherever. They have like Reddits for all the different locales, right? And they kind of built the same here with Bitchat, but ephemeral, and not relying on a centralized company. And then the coolest part is, you can block it on the Apple App Store and the Google App Store if you want. But on Android, you can sideload the app. You can just download the APK and install it. So even if Nepal tries to block it, the Nepal government or the Indonesian government tries to block it, people can still sideload the app. And it's an open protocol with the two main apps are vibe coded, right? So one was vibe coded by Dorsey for iOS, and then Callie vibe coded the Android one. So there's a bunch of different apps popping up on the web. So just progressive web apps that don't rely on an app store and app install at all. So we're seeing massive innovation, iteration there, because it's an open protocol, because no one controls it, because it's viral in nature. And last but not least, you can easily integrate Cashew into it and send Bitcoin payments. So you have private. Well, with the private messages, just it can be private, but group chats are censorship resistant. They shouldn't be considered private. Communications and freedom money mixed into the mix can be quite powerful for protests.
It really can. There when you need it. And it was, I mean, just the stats alone. I mean, 50,000 signups in a couple days in Nepal. That's pretty material. And I think the government went for an overt internet shutdown at some point. And
I mean, what's the population?
Crazy. It was crazy to see what happened. I mean, they burnt the parliament building down. And from what I understand, it was because the government was...
Burnt the Communist Party down too.
Yeah. They're trying to go overt communist. So it's good to see people push back against communism. Shame that it had to get to the level that it did. I believe they took out the prime minister and his wife. Crazy times, man. Yeah, the fourth turning mandibles.
Wait, did they kill the prime
last
minister?
Last I checked in yesterday morning, and I believe they did.
Population in Nepal is 30 million. So 50,000 is not that bad.
No. It's like point.
But yeah, I do. I mean, I heard you say the mandibles. Like I think it gets worse before it gets better. I think at least you have to plan for that with your family, and then hope for the best. Right? If it doesn't, then that'd be great. But don't get caught flat-footed.
No. Go try out Bitchat if you haven't already. There when you need it, but you should also have it before you need it as well, in case anything happens to the app stores or the internet. The internet specifically. If they do throttle the internet, it's going to be harder to download. If you already have it and you're using Bluetooth mesh, it'll work. Next up on the list, we have covered this a couple times over the last couple months, but I think it is getting more legitimate in terms of
I see Ben Allen in the comments because this is a big mistake if we got it wrong. The prime minister resigned. He wasn't killed.
Oh, he resigned in that time. 19 citizens had died. I saw he had been physically accosted, and maybe physically removed from the parliament building.
And I don't know if you mentioned this, but the thing that tipped it over in Nepal was the government tried to ban social media.
Mm-hmm.
I think is highly relevant for what we're trying to build out at Primal. In a lot of ways, I mean, I think Bitcoin is obviously hit escape velocity in a way that many open protocols never hit, and we'll see if Nostr does hit that. But if it does, in a lot of ways, I think Primal and Nostr can be even more sensitive in terms of government regulation and response than Bitcoin, which is kind of crazy because, I mean, obviously a lot of governments do hate Bitcoin, but they might hate Nostr even more.
Yeah. Grow. Spin up the relays. Get your friends and family on. Create a critical tipping point of network effects. And to your point about governments hating Bitcoin, as I was mentioning, we've covered this a couple times, and it seems like our government, at least those in FinCEN and the Department of the Treasury, don't like Bitcoin being used privately. So the rage has been sleuthing the developments of the integration of a legal framework for usage of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies into the Patriot Act. We mentioned it a couple of months ago when the digital assets team in the Trump administration launched their brief, which was multiple 100 pages long in one small section. They mentioned that they would like to expand the Patriot Act to cover and add like a sixth requirement to cover digital asset transactions. It looks like they're working closely with FinCEN and Department of Treasury to make this happen, and it's not looking good. So I'll just read the section from the Rage's article from earlier today. The mixer rule is not a mixer rule. The Treasury mixer rule is not so much of a mixer rule rather than a blanket ban on any software and even behavior that would grant users of public blockchains transactional privacy. As such, the rule would deem the following software and behaviors a primary money laundering concern, meaning that such transactions would end up blocked by centralized intermediaries. It can put an end to the development of privacy software, even non-custodial wallets under the threat of criminal liabilities. These include pooling or aggregating cryptocurrency from multiple persons, wallets, addresses, or accounts, using programmatic or algorithmic code to coordinate, manage, or manipulate the structure of a transaction, splitting cryptocurrency for transmittal and transmitting the cryptocurrency through a series of independent transactions, creating and using single-use wallets, addresses, or accounts, and sending cryptocurrency through such wallets, addresses, or accounts through a series of independent transactions, exchanging between types of cryptocurrency or other digital atomic swaps there, and facilitating user-initiated delays in transactional activity. Notably, the mixer's rule suggestion on cryptocurrency swaps, transaction delays, splitting, and the creation of single-use addresses, wallets, and accounts would even put users under suspicion, with the authorities potentially ending in criminal liability, similar to how transaction structuring, sometimes also known as smurfing, is deemed a federal crime in traditional finance, referring to the intentional breakup of transactions that fall below the $10,000 currency transaction reporting requirement. In traditional finance, smurfing carries a federal prison sentence of up to 5 years, even if the money transferred did not stem from illicit origins. So not great. Not only do they want to really stamp out the use of CoinJoin, but they're going as far as to say that the tried and true and best practice of not reusing addresses will be deemed suspicious and potentially get you on a list and prevent you from interacting with centralized third parties that are regulated by the government.
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned in the beginning, but we covered this last week and I think a month ago. Not a good development, to say the least. I think it's horrible for our country. It's worse for our country than it is for Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin and open source tools can be and will be resilient. But, I like the reporting the Rage does, and they wrote a really well-researched article on it, so I think it was important to recover it again. I don't understand exactly, and maybe Marty, you do, how likely is this to actually be implemented? I mean, it seems like it's coming in through a FinCEN ruling. It's not actually a law. Previously FinCEN was actually out in front even before the Samurai guilty plea and Tornado Cash guilty verdict, saying that self-custody wasn't money transmission, and specifically that collaborative transactions, non-custodial transactions weren't under their purview.
Yeah, that particular section that I just read in this part of the conversation pertains to FinCEN guidelines and rules that they plan on instituting. But there's also the Rage article did highlight that there's also the sort of reviving the Special Measures to Fight Modern Threats Act, which would codify some of this stuff into law as well. Right now the FinCEN is using authorities under the Patriot Act, Section 311, to go after specific groups in the digital asset sector. But it seems like there's going to be a bill brought to, it was originally introduced in 2022 by Representatives Himes of Connecticut, As part of the Competes Act, it would effectively grant the Treasury the power to ban any type of transaction it deems concerned without public notice or input under the Patriot Act authority. So it looks like they're going to be reintroducing that bill as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, I think it goes without saying, but it seems like a significant escalation over even the already shitty status quo, which is historically, I don't think we've ever seen users of privacy tools actually be targeted. It's always the maintainers or the developers or the companies behind them. If we start seeing users getting attacked under this type of regulation, that would be a very significant escalation.
Yeah.
And I think it's, once not a constitutional lawyer, but I think it's unconstitutional for that to happen. But we'll see how it plays out. I will say that the boys at BPI are mission focused on trying to make sure this type of thing does not happen. It's horrible for Bitcoiners and it's horrible for America. I think America should be leaning in to Bitcoin as freedom money. I think that's what makes our country stronger, it makes the people of America stronger, and as a result, it makes the country stronger. And I think in a lot of ways you can argue that these kind of rules at the end of the day significantly hurt our national security when you're talking about the geopolitical arena and pushing back against adversaries of the country. So I will say that they are mission focused on this. And from the very beginning, it was one of the main reasons that BPI even exists. Everything else is kind of a means to that end.
Yeah. We beat this concept to death over the years, but I don't think you can actually beat it to death. Like, financial privacy is not a crime. It's a human right. And the way these guidelines are structured as written today, and if they're implemented, just a single address usage is like best practice for privacy and for efficiency, for making sure that you're not overspending when you have to combine. If you're using a single address and you have to combine UTXOs, it gets more expensive. I believe after a certain threshold, if you reuse an address too much, it degrades the entropy. It makes it easier to brute force your private key. Degrades the entropy of your private public key pair.
Logan, yeah, that's true too. Logan, I see someone in the comments. Did you put a link to the Primal stream in the YouTube show notes?
I don't think there's a Primal link. I think the link is to rhr.tv.
Oh, interesting. I don't know. Someone was complaining about it. But anyway, freaks. The easiest, if you want to participate in the Primal stream, the easiest way is to either download Primal in your favorite app store, or on web, go to primal.net/RHR.
I will say, Mulyan and team, they respond to bug fixes very quickly. I do not have to refresh the page on Firefox to get the chat live stream. It's coming in, it's streaming in. I have to refresh once.
There you go.
Fine and dandy.
Iterating at laser speed.
Yes.
Ultimately, what I really want is, and I think we'll get there, is like primal.net. And by the way, freaks, this doesn't exist yet. Primal.net/RHR/live. And then that will just always be like a fixed link to our live streams if you're on web.
Yeah. One bug to report, soap miners. Zap came with a lengthy message, and there's just some UI bug there where the message is too long. You need to.
Yeah, we'll figure all this stuff out. There's the Primal team is in the comments. We're gonna bug test this shit live, and every week it'll get better. I see Winsome Hacks is saying rhr.tv/stream, which is the link we've discussed many times in the past to view the live stream, actually still should work even in our new current setup. But right now Zapstream is under DDoS, and that's why it shows an old state. But Nostr is an open protocol, so any stream from anywhere that's Nostr compatible gets shown in Zapstream and Primal. But yeah, like I said, I got to find, historically our hard-coded stream link is Zapstream, and it still is, but Zapstream's down. So here we are. There's some context for you.
We'll get to the bottom of it all, freaks. We will.
Honestly, at this point, I think, and I haven't actually talked to Kieran about this in person yet, but I think it might just be Cloudflare that's DDoSing him because he's not using Cloudflare.
You think so?
They've been known to do that shit.
Have they?
Yeah, and then you like bend the knee and you like activate Cloudflare, and then all of a sudden you're good.
It seems like that should be illegal.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they've ever admitted it, but it's like, it's an open secret. But he wants to, I respect it. He wants to do everything the freedom way and self-host his servers and not use Cloudflare, which is basically a man in the middle as a service. So I respect it. I don't respect what Cloudflare does, and Cloudflare can go fuck themselves, but I respect Kieran trying to take the hard path with Zapstream.
Moving on to macro talk. Here in the United States, wholesale prices unexpectedly declined by 0.1% in August as Fed rate decision looms. Producer price index fell by 0.1% in August after a downwardly revised 0.7% increase in July, and well off the Dow estimate for a 0.3 rise. The release provides breathing room for the Federal Reserve to approve interest rate cut at its meeting next week. Services prices, a key metric for the Fed, when evaluating the stance of monetary policy, posted a 0.2% drop. And so the boogeyman of inflation seems to be going away, which the Fed has been worried about. And many people, Jerome Powell specifically, said he was waiting to see the effects of tariffs on the CPI and other inflation indices, the PPI being one of those, and it looks like it's not manifesting as much as he believed it may have, and so I guess it's just giving more reason for the Fed to cut rates. You couple that with the massive downward jobs revision that we received earlier this week as well. Between in 2024, jobs were overreported by 911,000, and so many are making the argument that there was no jobs growth in 2024. The Biden administration and the Bureau of Labor Statistics, by extension, were cooking the jobs data to make the economy look better. And I think, listen, the Trump administration could be cooking the revisions as well to make it look worse than it actually was. But let's run with the assumption that they're not and try to use external anecdotal data points to prove that may be the case. And I would not be surprised if it's actually the case. And these numbers are actually legit, because I think we've been covering it. It seems like there's been a silent depression for quite a period of time now. People complaining about prices, complaining about the inability to afford a house, the inability to afford healthcare, the inability to afford groceries. It's been pretty clear, and that's been pretty consistent for many years now at this point, post-COVID stimulus. And so I would not be surprised if the U.S. economy has technically been in a recession in many sectors of the economy for well over a year now at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels that way when you like go out into the real world and talk to people.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but it's so complete clown world that, like, I don't know, like a bullshit number comes in with questionable practices on how they calculate it. It's under quote unquote analyst projections. So then as a result, the market's like, oh, the closed door Fed meeting is going to lower interest rates. So then the market pumps. And that all happens in like 30 minutes, right? Like all you have to do is like, you're like watching your block clock and the price goes up, $1,000, $2,000 on Bitcoin. And it's all because of that feedback loop. I just really quickly, Zapstream is not down right now. But there's like some technical reasons for behind the scenes that I won't go into. But right now, if you want to watch on Zapstream, just go to zap.stream and you can see it there. It's just streaming from a different npub right now. I get Zapstream's picking up the host npub rather than the broadcast event npub. Like the event is signed by a different npub. But anyway, we'll figure out all these different things and we'll solve it over time. I also see Seth, our accountant, Zap 21,000 sats, saying the new primal update is the quickest and cleanest way to watch RHR ever. This is awesome. And Miljan zapped 21,000 sats. Let's fucking go. I might have kind of tricked Miljan into zapping us because I texted him that I think that the iOS stream zaps aren't working. And clearly he was testing it out.
Can you test it on Android too, Miljan? I think it might not be working there either.
But yeah, guys, in like the next 5 months or so, like this whole Nostr streaming experience is going to be absolutely amazing. Like I think we're making record pace here. So just hang in there with us. I know it's a little bit frustrating.
Yeah. No, but back to U.S. economy. I think we've been in a silent depression for many years. I think since COVID, since they shut down the economy, and destroyed the middle class and small businesses. I don't think we've recovered materially since then, especially when you factor in inflation. But yeah, I mentioned I was speaking with Peter Alexander and Mel Madison last week. I recorded with both of them last Friday, and Mel, who's been pretty on the ball in terms of his predictions for how things are going to play out this year. He's bullish on stocks, bonds, and gold and Bitcoin at the same time right now, and it ties into our next topic, which is the fact that the 10-year yield has dropped to 4.05%. Had a very strong auction this week as well, and so I think it's pretty clear that it's all systems go. Rates are going to get lower. And we're going to try and set the economy on turbo, stimulate the economy as much as possible. And it's going to be beneficial for financial asset prices, which unfortunately is not going to benefit everybody. I think it could obviously restoke inflation as well. And so out of all the assets that are going to pump, I think it's pretty clear which one we believe you should all be getting exposure to, which is Bitcoin, most accessible. It's the best way to preserve your purchasing power. This is why Bitcoin exists. And I think the strong movement in price we've seen in the last few days is a reaction, is basically a recognition that it seems pretty clear that stimulus is back on the table, lower rates are back on the table. We could be heading down towards ZERP again. So you want to get hard assets like Bitcoin.
100%. It's interesting. I mean, the 10-year falling is also indicative of the market thinking that inflation's under control, which seems retarded. But, I mean, market's a market.
Yeah, it's that, and obviously, like also an indicator of like how much demand is there going to be for U.S. debt as you have. Well, yeah, I think another factor could be like you look at France, in the UK specifically, like in Germany, like those economies are dog shit right now. I mean, France, it's rumored that their government's going to fail and they're going to have to go to the IMF for a bailout, which is not a good look for a developed Western nation. Similarly, you have terrible economic situation.
Not a good look at all.
in the UK and Germany's economy is still struggling. The other stock markets have been up, but it just could be like a flight to relative safety. What's the best government debt market if all those governments are failing? Be flee to relative safety. Not that it's safe at all. They should all be buying Bitcoin, but can't depend on that.
Well, anyway, I would never give someone a 10-year loan at 4%.
No. All right, we've got software updates. So before I forget, do we have a Human Rights Foundation story of the week too? Did you find
They hadn't shipped their new newsletter by the time we went live, so
I'll
that's why I didn't
check.
include mine.
I'll check my inbox to see if they sent one while we're.
It looks like they did.
Okay.
You can pick one again.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. The Fountain guys, the desktop dashboard for Boost is different than the app in the sense that it lists Boost in chronological order from when they were posted, not in terms of the amount of sats boosted. So first 21,000 sat boost came from our friend Stimmy. Shout out to the audio freaks with Primal Streaming FOMO. Shout out 21,000 sats. Shout out to you, Stimmy.
One of the cool things is all those fountain boosts are Nostr posts, so I actually retweeted that on Primal.
I'm going to do that right now, too. I'm retweeting that.
It's cool you can retweet a boost just natively. Yeah. Open protocols, man.
And you can. I'm going to zap that boost, too. Guess what, Stimmy? He's got 1,000 sats
What is this, the Always Sunny? The money's just moving in circles.
That's the only 21,000 sat boost from last week's RHR Rabbit Hole Recap 373. Bitcoin is the best money. And I will open up my inbox and HRF Financial Freedom Report number 89. Let's pick a story here. We touched on Indonesia, but we didn't really dive into the exact story. So to add context from the earlier subject we discussed, Indonesia, police violently suppressed student-led protests. Indonesia experienced its largest protest in years as students, workers, and rights groups took to the streets against new lawmaker Perks. In addition to their salaries, all 580 members of the House of Representatives now receive a monthly housing allowance of 50 million rupiah, or around $3,075 US. This is nearly 10 times the minimum wage in Jakarta. Police met demonstrators with violence and force, detaining 3,000, injuring 1,000, and killing 10 people nationwide. The unrest reflects mounting frustrations over eroding financial conditions defined by rising living costs, widespread layoffs, and new tax hikes. Officials have also pressured platforms like TikTok and Meta to curb protest content, with reports of X access being blocked amid the crackdown. So similarly, you have financial stress, you have financial repression, you have people complaining about it on social media, then the government moves to social media repression. And that's what drove people to Bitchat in Indonesia. And it's a tale as old as time. I mean, it's crazy how time is a flat circle. And these stories have become a dime a dozen throughout the years. This is very predictable once financial stress starts and people start complaining about it, and the government starts handing out free giveaways to politicians. It's a very predictable order of operations here. Inflation, complaining,
ban complaining,
access to financial services and social media, and then they meet in the streets and start physically beating people.
Very true.
Onto the tools that you can use to make your Bitcoin life better. Craig Raw has released, what do you call this? Frigate?
It's frigate, bro.
Frigate?
Yeah.
Like a boat, a frigate.
Hey, Logan, I learn something new every week from you. Will you explain what a frigate is to me?
There's also a bird. There's a bird called a frigate, and he's the creator of Sparrow Wallet. He likes naming things after birds.
Okay.
It's a marine bird, and it's also a boat, type of boat.
What type of boat is
So
it? What's a frigate? It's like a
the
dinghy?
Navy. The Navy has frigates.
Okay.
It's a warship.
Learn something new every week. Hey, don't come at me because I didn't know what a frigate was or how to pronounce it.
What'd you pronounce it?
Frigate?
It makes me feel better about vlog.
A frigate? A frigate. A frigate. Frigate is an experimental Electrum server testing efficient silent payment scanning with ephemeral client keys. Note that Frigate is currently a proof of concept for supporting silent payments on Electrum servers and not a replacement for Electris, Fulcrum, etc. If you are a developer interested in exploring silent payment scanning, check out Frigate.
Pretty
link
cool.
to the GitHub page there. Yeah, I imagine this is there's demand for something like this because of Spark. Oh no, silent payments.
No, not
That's
Spark.
stateless. That's state chains. My bad.
No, the biggest issue with silent payments is what this is trying to solve, which is the actual syncing issue. It tries to solve a similar thing that BIP47 solved, or provided a tool for, which is this idea of I want to receive payments on chain, but I don't want to keep reusing the same address, which is obviously horrible for privacy. And I don't want to have to keep providing a new address or run like a BTC Pay server or Zapwrite or something to provide a new address. So I want to just give you like a static string. I just want to give you a single address that I give you once, you put in your contact book, and every time it sends to a new address. Now, BIP47 solved that by doing a notification transaction, which you could scan the chain to compute the addresses that are just between you and the person you're transacting with. Silent Payments does not have that notification transaction, so it has a lower on-chain burden, but instead the burden is put on the receiver in terms of syncing, and specifically syncing in a situation like Cake Wallet has it integrated. And so syncing in a situation where you have a remote node, and that remote node is an Electrum server run by many people is not an easy computational problem. Like you don't want it to take forever and strain the resources of the server. So this is Craig's attempt to solve that more elegantly, and it's probably the first step to getting silent payments into Sparrow itself. So great, love to see it.
Love to see it. Breaking news. We are currently outcompeting TBPN on X. We have more live viewers than TBPN right now. I think this is the first time since we've been recording and tracking our competition with the Rabbit Hole Recap knockoff. And so if you're watching on X, if you're watching on X, we need to pump the numbers, retweet, share. It's a beautiful thing. We got some zaps too. Palindrome zap from Bitcoin Rising 21,212.
Pretty impressive, since I convinced half of our audience to delete their X account.
Yeah.
Love to see it. Thank you, freaks.
Primal Stream is fire. Love you guys, but run knots.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to run knots, you're welcome to run knots. I think that's your right. I personally am not willing to recommend knots to people right now, because I want to see their release and review process become better. Like right now, it's pretty much just Luke shipping code. And I like Luke. I think he means well. I think he cares about Bitcoin. But I mean, it's a very important project. Your node should be very important to you. And you can, right now, if you don't want to relay larger transactions, if you're running Core V29, you're not. If you don't upgrade, you continue to not be. And you always also have the option of running V30 with a modified config file, which is actually much easier to do than people say it is. So you can either reduce that data carrier size, or you can just choose not to relay transactions at all. whether they're large or
Blockers
small,
only.
by doing blocks only. I do like having at least some size mempool, because on Start9 it's really cool to run mempool space alongside of it and having a self-hosted view of incoming transactions. And then last but not least, I said this last week, but I see people saying it again in the comments. I do not think. Yeah, I think that I'm kind of frustrated with Core for deciding to force through this kind of. I mean, force is a hard word. No one's forcing you to update, but it's just it's creating unnecessary drama, and I don't think it really changes much. People that want to relay larger transactions could have updated their config file to relay larger transactions instead of Core changing the default. But I don't think it's this existential threat that people are making out to be. Like, you can mine these transactions right now today per consensus rules. And there are modified nodes that are already relaying them, and you can submit them directly to miners. And so, like, I think the question is, like, if 10% of nodes or 5% of nodes are relaying them already, running knots is probably not going to stop that. And then last but not least, I would like to see more well-reviewed, maintained Bitcoin implementation so node runners have more choice. And that's part of the reason why I donate my time to OpenSats, so that we have more developers working on the protocol.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to have to repeat this every fucking week.
No, we're
So, but I will if you guys insist. And then I see we have Sue Generous John.
Oh my God! See, this is where my Latin comes. I was just about to say I may not be able to pronounce frigate, but I know Latin when I see it. Sui generis, John.
Okay, well, at least I didn't say Frygate. And he says chicken pot pie, chicken pot pie, chicken pot pie, and then Map21 Zap 21,000 sats. He says keep your heads up, freaks. And Marco Zap 21,212 sats. Best time of the week. Thank you, Marco. I do think it's hilarious that there's like a fringe minority in Nostr that like has like this big VC conspiracy about Primal, and it's I think 6 employees now, maybe 7 employees, and 2 of them are Million's kids. It's like a nice humble lean family operation. Yeah,
you love to see it. Wasn't a Zap, didn't have a Zap to it, but I haven't been able to listen to it yet, and I would like to hear your response to this. Odell, Great Citadel Dispatch episode with Edgy on the cashew.
It's not pronounced Eggy. I think he pronounced it Ega. But I pronounce it Eggy.
Filthy Fiat Wallet learned a lot and implemented it this week with Nostr Wallet Connect.
Yeah, it was a fun one. We obviously were focusing on cashew with that episode, and then I just had Marks on for Maple. So I think both those conversations were a lot of fun. Check them out by searching Citadel Dispatch in your favorite podcast app. Next week hasn't been announced yet, but it will be one of the open source developers building out Fediment, and we'll be talking about how it's easier than ever to run your own Fediment.
Let's fucking go. All right, back to the list. Another important update this week. Zaprite launches event ticket functionality. It's a pretty big update for them. I recorded with Will Cole, head of product at Zaprite, earlier this morning on this exact subject, and it's pretty impressive what they built. I mean, they're almost at exact feature parity with something like Eventbrite.
Yeah, it's really clean. So Bitcoin Park is throwing an event next week, 2 events next week, the Custody and Treasury Summit and Imagine If. You can find more information at bitcoinpark.com. But we're using Zaprite event tickets for that, and the interface is fantastic, super clean, exactly what you'd expect. Pay with Bitcoin, pay with fiat, however you want to. I still love the feature that you can charge more for fiat. And I like how it flips on the head from a discount with Bitcoin. It's like you're not getting a Bitcoin discount, you're getting an upcharge for fiat. And it handles everything for you. Super clean.
Go check it out. If you're running an event, you want to accept Bitcoin, don't want to be beholden to Eventbrite and others who take a lot in fees, consider Zapprite. Almost have feature parity.
Also,
Will
Marty,
said,
what's your opinion on chicken pot pies?
love chicken pot pies. My wife actually made a homemade chicken pot pie last week. It was delicious.
I'm a big chicken pot pie guy. It's good.
Yeah. We do it in the cast iron. It was great. Little puff pastry over.
It's a nice little guilty pleasure.
It is. It's good. It's good. It's good. Wholesome.
Yeah, exactly.
D10 torrent search updates. We talked about this.
I like this.
Week.
1 second. Greg Tanoski, one of our major trolls here, Ride or Die trolls at Rabbit Hole Recap, is saying Bitcoin Knots is independent and developed without influence from Clown World sponsors and VCs. I mean, they raised a fucking massive round for Ocean that is effectively paying for Knots development. And I will say once again that I called for additional contributors to Knots to apply to OpenSats. So, I mean, you can encourage Knots usage without making up bullshit that is easily disprovable. And then like people are like, oh, well, Dorsey funded OpenSats. It's like, yeah, well, the largest investor in Ocean is Dorsey as well. So he actually has equity in that company. He has no equity in OpenSats and no control over OpenSats.
It's all so tiresome. D10 torrent search updates. This was announced last week, right? So it looks like they're shipping fast. Trending torrents.
Yeah, this is Kieran too. You know, Kieran is the maintainer of Zapstream and Snort, and this is his latest project. It's pretty cool. I mean, I'm a fan of torrents, using torrents and Nostr together to be able to look up torrents easily, sort through them, get ratings, use Web of Trust. It's a really compelling use case. And so it's an open source project. You can self-host it, but he's also hosting an instance at dtan.xyz.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. Oh, God. There's porn on there already. God damn it.
Well, even if you do Web of Trust, then who in your Web of Trust is putting the porn up? You can remove them from your Web of Trust if you want.
Oh, I want to talk about porn.
Oh, God damn it, Logan. Yeah, I'm just looking through this. Looks like a lot of Spanish language content. Una película de Minecraft. So is that like a little version of Minecraft? Small file Minecraft. It's pretty cool.
Are you just scrolling through torrents right now?
Yeah. Not clicking on any because I don't want to download anything I don't want on my computer, but just looking at it.
I think it's a cool project.
Yeah, go check it out. d10.xyz. Excuse me. Android security patches moves to quarterly model instead of monthly. This is interesting. This is coming from Graphene.
Yeah, Graphene seems really concerned about this.
They're saying
the
we
developers
can't
behind
embargo
Graphene.
ourselves. So they're embargoed on the exact information.
So basically what's happening is the Google Android team is providing security updates, and they're sending them out to developers of different Android packages, right? So like Samsung, Graphene, I don't know who else makes Android phones now. So they're sending them out to all these teams, and they're saying you can't ship the update for a quarter. And then those teams, because it's such a big, it's like Huawei and anyone who makes Android stuff. And so basically they're shipping it out. They're telling you can't ship it out yourself for 4 months because you have to give all the other developers time to ship it. But meanwhile, it's going out to like NSO Group and all these different malicious actors to then leverage it to attack. So, I mean, if you're not assuming malintent here, which, it could just be, it's not necessarily malicious from Google, but what is effectively happening is these security bugs that can be used to compromise your device are being released almost 4 months or 3 months earlier than they're getting actually implemented to user devices, and there's that 3-month window where they can be used to attack people. And if Graphene breaks that embargo and ships early themselves, then I think Android stops providing them the security releases, which obviously hurts Graphene users as well. So they're stuck in kind of between a rock and a hard place, and they're calling for a quote unquote independent whistleblower to break the embargo so then they can just ship.
Yeah. That doesn't seem great. And it seems like vulnerability is maybe critical if they're acting in this way. Kieran's saying D10 isn't new. It's almost 2 years old. Sorry, Kieran. That's on me.
Sorry, Kieran. I mean, it also only came on my radar recently too, so it's on me as well, Kieran. I apologize, and I appreciate you. I see some Knots people in the YouTube chat that I like to respond to, saying this is an existential threat to Bitcoin, and Odell has been co-opted. Once again, I am not going to tell you what to run.
Apostrophe, which is like, come on, people.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what to run. But people they're curious about my opinion. So this is my opinion, is that, a lot of rage is being made over something that is not actually an existential threat to Bitcoin. When V30 releases, I guess we'll know if it was or not. And if I was wrong, I'm happy to, tell people I was wrong after the fact. I don't expect any of you guys to say you were wrong if it wasn't the case. But right now, a lot of people are being basically scared into selling their Bitcoin, moving to custodians, going into MSTR, blindly running knots. So there's a lot of fear out there. And in general, I think it's unwarranted and counterproductive. When I think the ultimate goal should be to have more well-reviewed implementations out there, so node runners have more options. I think that's just an absolute net benefit for the ecosystem as a whole.
I completely agree. Yeah, and it's last thing I'll say on it. It's like people are like forcing you to, or trying to force people like us to agree that's an existential crisis. If we respond saying, "Hey, I understand why you may think it is, but I personally do not hold that belief as well," they attack you and say you're co-opted.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm not telling you what to run, so don't tell me what opinion to have.
Yeah.
The cool part is you can run whatever the fuck you want to run. You go run Liberty Bitcoin if you want to as well. I don't feel comfortable recommending that either right now, but I like that. Or BTCD. I like that. Voskul has always been. He clearly cares about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And has been doing the hard work to build a whole new implementation from scratch.
I love Eric. Eric, if you're listening, I doubt you are, but I thoroughly enjoy our conversation. He's the hardest man to talk to in Bitcoin because he never relents. You'll never win an argument with Eric Voskul. I've had 5-hour conversations with him where I've had to tap out. Like, I'm done. I'm out of here.
He kind of filibusters you.
Yeah.
The filibuster strategy. I see digital text and zap 27,182 sats.
Whoa,
an oddly specific number. Stay rational, stack irrationally. Stay rational, stack irrationally. That was the other thing. I mean, this week has just been crazy. I didn't even put it on the list. But did you pay attention to that NPM supply chain vulnerability at all that everyone was panicking over?
Oh, yeah, the JavaScript injection?
Yeah.
One of the maintainer keys got hacked?
Yeah, and then shipped it downstream. And it seemed like it turns out like it was mostly like web-based shitcoin wallets were exposed. And then even with that, they kind of fucked up the attack. So I think only like $500 of shitcoins was taken at the end of the day. But it was all started by a single post by one of the Ledger guys. And then like, I love BTC Sessions and I think he means well, but like he went on an emergency live stream and was like asking ChatGPT which wallets were affected. And then every wallet that he said was affected had to like come out and be like, we weren't affected, or most wallets that he said it. Meanwhile, if you had your Bitcoin in cold storage and you're using a hardware wallet like Cold Card, and you can actually verify what's happening on the secure screen that's offline as well, that alone mitigates any of these types of attacks.
Yeah, I did it yesterday. I had to send somebody an address to receive Bitcoin, spun up Sparrow wallet, pulled an address from my XPub associated with my Cold Card queue, scanned the QR code of the address in Sparrow, and verified that yes, this is associated.
The receive
with,
address.
Yeah. Very simple step, and I did it because of this this vulnerability. I didn't think Sparrow was affected by it, but don't trust verify.
Sparrow wasn't affected. Yeah, Sparrow wasn't affected by it, but there's still best practice to always check receive addresses. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of intentionally or not, fear gets clicks, panic gets clicks, and I don't know. I'm not trying to play that game. I'll let you know if I think something is freaking me out.
Yeah. 42,000 sat zap. Just seeing the end pub now. I don't know if you can see the readable handle. I don't know if you should go to this website. I don't think I personally am going to go to it, but kremlingram.org is associated.
Why would you read it out loud then?
It is app. Yeah, I mean, it's part of the.
I mean, that's kind of like it's a little bit
part of the contract we've made with the viewers is we'll read the message if you zap over a certain.
Oh, it's silent.link. Okay, well,
is?
I don't think he's posting anything too compromising. I have a lot of respect for him, and I do have a level of trust in him that I don't share with many people. He has earned it. But thank you for the support, sir, as always. Based on the headline and based on the hatred that he has about Telegram, my assumption is that it's about how Telegram is controlled by the Kremlin.
Yeah.
Anyway, freaks, whether the Kremlin's in your threat model or whether the US is in your threat model, or whether Durov is in your threat model, you should probably delete Telegram. That shit is spyware.
Beware. Speaking of Russia, NATO has invoked Article 4 of the North Atlantic Treaty at Poland's request after dozens of Russian one-way attack drones violated Polish airspace. Has it been verified that has Russia come out and said anything about it? This was very weird to me.
I don't know. I was like, a lot of things were going on this week. But this seemed like a big deal, so I kind of put it in the list because I was hoping you were going to tell me about it. But it seems bad.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make. I'm going to talk to Tom Luongo later this week, and we'll probably touch on this, but like it doesn't make any sense to me why Russia would do this, particularly at this point where it seems like there could be a potential resolution in this war. And I think one of the things that the West has been worried about, and part of the narrative of the war hawks, is we need to prevent Russia from moving further west into Europe. And if Russia actually did this, this is validating one of the main concerns of the Western, the G7 nations and European Union. And it just doesn't make sense that it would be. It doesn't make sense that they would do this, especially if they didn't attack. Like I don't know. That's my take. That's my Shoot.
Before, just real quick, because that silent.link account is not the official silent.link account. So please do not click or go to that link.
Yeah.
I just checked and I don't follow that account and it only has 10 followers. So either he created a new account or it's an impersonator. Best to assume it's an impersonator. What the claim is that 12 Russian drones entered Polish airspace.
Yeah. Some person in the YouTube chat saying they were Russian, but Russia claims it wasn't an intentional attack on Poland.
Yeah, I mean, they could have went off. They could have just lost control of them or something. Alternatively, they have done, and I think we do this too. Like the U.S. Air Force does this too, but like you do like test incursions where you don't like attack or anything to see what the response time is. So it doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, obviously, it's still a provocation, but it's not the rarest thing in the world for them to check airspace responses.
Yeah.
I think we've seen China do it with Taiwan. Like I said, we've done it in the past.
But yeah, these were effectively like attack drones. I believe they're suicide drones. I believe they were described as
Yeah, I think their Shahhead drones are basically like drone missiles.
Yeah.
They just like fly them into things. Yeah. Anyway, I just to me it was mostly a be aware because I feel like very few people are talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really aware of it either. So I put it in there, like I said, hoping that you were going to provide me a little bit more context, or the freaks were going to. But
yes, I mean, I'll just reiterate. It seems like it would be a very big strategic misstep if Russia does want to end the war in Ukraine. Maybe they do have ambitions to go further west into Europe, and they think they can do it. But I think the evidence of the last 3 years would prove that their army, their military is pretty depleted. Had a lot of losses when it makes sense strategically to me. But I'm also not a game theoretic war expert either. So take whatever I say on the subject with a massive grain of salt. You don't have it on the list, but another thing that's sort of getting brushed under the rug and had a lot of very positive momentum before the tragic events of yesterday was the MAHA hearings on Capitol Hill. Something I've been very passionate about on TFTC is staying on top of what I think were crimes against humanity during the COVID era and making sure that we try to get to a point in the United States and hopefully globally where the people who inflicted those crimes on the world are held accountable. And I think there was a lot of positive momentum in that direction this week on Capitol Hill as it pertains to that.
I'm gonna have to ask you to repeat that, but for the freaks, just to just look, it's important what I was doing. I just messaged Silent Link out of band, and that was him. He didn't want to paste his NSEC into another app, so he created another account. Okay, sorry, I wasn't listening to anything about the MAHA stuff. I was just making sure that we didn't like send our fucking listeners to a phishing scam.
All right, we didn't. Good out of bound confirmation. MAHA stuff, very short, similar to.
You're just going after RFK, right?
No, well, they are going after
opposite?
RFK, but the hearings were very productive in a positive way. Where I think
was RFK holding the hearings?
No, Senator Ron Johnson was.
But he was on the Inquisitor side.
RFK wasn't in the meetings. It was Dr. Malone, another doctor, Ted Rogers, I believe his name was, and then a lawyer, Siri was his last name. I forget his first name. And they were with, it was the three of them I believe a couple others, and then there was a representative from Stanford who was putting forth the case that the COVID vaccines are safe, and there's nothing to question about the safety of not only the COVID vaccines but the childhood schedule. And I think there were that dude got owned, and I think the sort of Overton window of the conversation around mandated, coerced vaccines shifted pretty dramatically. And there was a lot of positive momentum up until yesterday afternoon when attention shifted for very obvious reasons. But it's something I've been passionate about. Don't want to get swept under the rug. So it was great to
No,
see.
I think it's incredibly
those
important.
hearings.
I mean, look, I don't agree with him on everything, but I wholeheartedly support RFK. And I think the crux of the issue, specifically on childhood vaccines, is that they are more or less forced on the population. You have zero agency except to opt out of the entire thing. And if you can't afford to opt out of the entire thing, if you have to put your kids in daycare or public school or something like that, then you are effectively forced and mandated to take them all, to have your kids take all of them from a very young age. And that's just fucked up. Like, people should have the choice, regardless of how you feel about the efficacy of them. People should have the choice when it comes to their children and the health of their children. As a parent, I'm fortunate enough that my family's in place where we can just tell them fuck you, but a lot of families are not. And that daycare piece specifically, both parents are working. You got to put them in daycare at a young age. A lot of daycares mandate it. Check.
Yeah, it's disgusting. As many of you know, we had our third child a couple of weeks ago, and we had to have a conversation like, hey, no, he's not getting Hep B 30 seconds out of the womb. And
which is ridiculous. Like, it's for an STD. It's like, me and my wife don't have Hep B. Like, my kid's not going to like be using dirty needles or having dirty sex. Like, it's the most ridiculous fucking thing ever. Specific, like the Hep B one is like, I think that one should be a clear red flag to anyone that is using actual logic.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I recorded with Dr. Jessica Rose last week. Her and Dr. Kevin McKernan, and another co-author released a paper that basically proved, it was peer reviewed, I think it's being replicated right now, that there are DNA fragments and SV40 fragments in the Pfizer vaccine specifically, which are not supposed to be there and are not good for people's health. And that was brought up in the hearings. But Jessica and I, during our conversation, we've talked about too, like just getting to first principles logic, the whole conversation around vaccines, like people who are skeptical are villainized as anti-vaxxers, but like, let's get to first principles. Like, if you believe that these things are safe and effective most importantly, and you take them, why do you care if others do not? And then number two, going back to the fact that if a vaccine gets on the childhood schedule, the producers of those products cannot be held liable for any damage that is potentially created. Like, that doesn't make any logical sense to me. Like, why do they get legal immunity if something gets on the childhood schedule? And if there's just a loophole to get legal immunity that puts children at harm, it's extremely demonic and evil, and it should be reapproached and reconsidered of what we're actually doing here.
And there's just to follow the incentives, there's so much fucking money to be made.
Yeah.
It's a forced subscription plan.
Yeah. Heavily subsidized by the government. Yeah. That's the one thing I want to bring up. I'm happy there was positive momentum in that direction.
That's good. It's good to hear. I do feel, I mean, a lot of trust was lost with the COVID shit. So the Overton window shifted fast on that one.
Well, that's the thing Jessica said during our conversation, was like, it's insane that they're vilifying people that are skeptical, when it's like, if you did the right thing and garnered people's trust correctly, like, you wouldn't have this problem. Like, the onus is on you to build that trust. You can't fault people for being skeptical. That's all I have to say about that. One more boost before we get out of here. Drew, Cattlebike, 21,479 sats. Next Northwest Arkansas Bitcoin meetup on Thursday next week. Peer-to-peer social at Bentonville Brewing Co. at 6:30 p.m.
I didn't see that one come up. Where did you see? Is that in the live chat?
I'm seeing it on Primal right now.
Well, some work to be done. Oh yeah, I see it. I see it now.
256,136 sats zapped during this live stream.
Thank you, freaks. We really appreciate the support. Especially weeks like, I mean, this week's a tough week, and I don't know. You guys just showing that you find the show helpful and enjoy the show is what really keeps me coming week in and week out. Because it's a grind. It's a grind, and I appreciate you all.
As do I. Drew Cattlebike is correcting me. It's not Drew Cattlebike. It's Drew Bull Cycle. I should have picked up on that. I'm sorry about that.
Cattlebike. Drew Cattlebike on his Frygate.
It was Frygate.
And by the way, on that note, freaks, if you share the show with the friends and family, whether it's Rabbit Hole Recap, whether it's Marty's TFTC, whether it's Seal Dispatch, ask them to subscribe. If you leave a review, all the retweet on Nostr or X, like all these things really help and spreads the signal. The signal. So thank you.
It does. And even if you listen live, to Matt's point, particularly Apple and Spotify, go leave a rating, 5-star rating, review, zap us on, boost us.
It's really helpful.
It is.
The other thing is, we used to tell freaks about this in the beginning when we were bootstrapping, but we don't anymore. If you just enable auto downloads, that's very helpful for us. Because just all the algos are like, oh, like it just automatically counts it as a listen if you enable auto downloads. So even if you skip a week, the algo thinks you didn't. Just something to keep in mind. It's a very cheap way to support the show. You remember we used to do that? We would remind people like every week in the beginning.
Yeah.
Open up your mom's phone, search Rabbit Hole Recap, press subscribe, click auto download.
Look, Ski took that advice to heart. I secretly subscribe on all my friends and family's phones when they're not looking. Thank you. We need more of that.
That must be such a surprise to them.
John Arnold saying this is the most boring cattle bike ever. Hey, validation, grind up.
I mean, do you think it's going to continue to be boring?
I don't know. It feels like no price predictions, but like, I don't know. I think not that I'm a TA analyst or anything. I'm just purely working off of pattern recognition vibes that I've developed over 12 years of following Bitcoin closely. Like, I think last week's dump down to 108 and then getting back to 114 is like very strong. It looks like if you look at the yearly chart, we've been sort of in this range since the beginning of June, end of May, beginning of June. I like that. 3 months of sitting in a range typically leads to an acceleration of things in the fall.
Well, I mean, my high conviction call is that volatility is coming. Mm-hmm. Like I'm very confident. I'm very confident that we either pump hard or dump hard after all of this consolidation. Now, my conviction on which direction we go is less so, but I lean to the upside. I lean to. I think this bull market is still probably pretty far from over. And I think a lot of people are getting shaken out by boredom and FUD and panic. And they're basically just waiting for that one person who's listening to the show right now, who's cycling out of Bitcoin and aping into gold before we start ripping up higher.
Yeah. Yeah, this is. I mean, we've said this many times throughout the years. I don't think we've said it in a time. That's like Bitcoin will bore you to death and shake you
That's the
up.
hardest part.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of where like stay humble comes from. You know, it's just like stop trying to trade things. Stop trying to like plan short term stuff because it is, you know,
Most of
stacking
the
long
time,
term, holding long term. Yeah.
most of the time, Bitcoin is boring. What's the stat?
Boring
Like,
or sad,
yeah,
right? Like we're just dumping and getting poorer all the time.
I think the stat is if you're on the sidelines for the 10 best trading days of the year, you miss 90% of the upside. That's like
Yeah,
time
just
in the
stay humble
market.
and stack sats.
Yeah.
And it's even worse than that because if you miss one of those days, then you tend to ape in at the local top, and then you probably sell when it dumps down a little bit and corrects. And so if you're not in it already, you probably actually end up with even worse return. And there's no way to really model the human emotional aspect there. I don't know. It just feels like, I mean, to me, like Bitcoin was made for the macro situation we're in right now. Bitcoin is, I think Bitcoin does really well in good times, and I think it's a life raft in bad times. Like it's good in both. That's the cool part, right? And to me, like Bitcoin and the greater freedom tech movement, you know, open source software, open source tools, Nostr, and everything else is just that's what gives me hope. That's the bright in the darkness, and it's what will hopefully enable our families to weather any kind of storm that comes next, if it comes next.
Yeah. The Cattlebike jokes around the Cattlebike. This is going to be the best Cattlebike ever. Yeah. Get your Frygates ready because we're going to be sailing in open water Bitcoin this Cattlebike. Yeah, it's going to be boring most of the time, but no, to your point, like it seems pretty clear. I wouldn't be shocked. Next week's the big FOMC meeting if we get a 50 bip cut, and Mel was saying that he thinks there's going to be anywhere from 8 to 10.
Dude, that Mel episode was great.
And that, like, between Mel and Peter too, like I did want to bring that up, like in the context of the geopolitical positioning between the U.S. and China specifically. I think both of them said that like all China wants is just recognition that it's an equal, and like we shouldn't be trying to maintain hegemonic empire around the world. Like if China wants to be viewed as an equal and they think they should steward Southeast Asia, me personally, I'm like, okay with that. We got obviously, based off the first half of this conversation, we've got a lot of problems here in the United States that need fixing. And I would not be mad if we said, hey, China, you're an equal. If you want to steward Asia, go for it. We're going to fix our problems at home and focus on the Western Hemisphere. I
mean,
with
I
that.
think
That makes me a communist supporter or an anti-American cuck. So be it.
I mean, look, this was in Mandibles as well, but I'm torn on it. I think I think American hegemony is probably net negative for the world, or I lean heavily in that belief. I think it's probably a net positive for America. It gives us privileged access, and it's exactly what allows Trump to like throw people around. And I do not think that China just wants to be an equal. Like I think China wants to be the next global top dog. Yeah. And I think probably if we go isolationist and we step back, that'll probably happen. But also we kind of have to, and we probably should. So it is what it is, and let's just empower individuals in smaller communities and reduce power in that way, like reduce centralized power, like because it has the same effect as the Chinese government and the U.S. government and every other government. It inherently distributes power out and reduces corruption as a result, and hopefully and should increase human flourishing. I'm looking at Polymarket now. Polymarket thinks it's going to be a 25 bips decrease. They're at 87%. So 10% chance they think it's 50 bips. So that would indicate what?
That likelihood has increased, though, right, in the last 24 hours?
No, 50 bips seems to have gone down.
Down. Oh, interesting.
Slightly, ever so slightly. It peaked at 20.7%, and now it's at 10.4%. But that would also indicate, I mean, look, a polymarket is just people betting on outcomes. But it would indicate that if there was a 50 bips decrease, a bigger decrease than expected, markets should jump even more because people aren't expecting it.
All right.
I can't wait till we have polymarket that actually uses Bitcoin, or at least supports Bitcoin. I don't really care what it runs on, but you should be able to send Bitcoin.
Can you use
receive Bitcoin?
Wallet?
I think they might support wrapped Bitcoin. I've never used. Have you ever used wrapped Bitcoin?
Never used wrapped Bitcoin. Never used Polymarket.
Yeah, I've never used Polymarket. I view the markets, but I've never actually. It's probably for the better. I've been on a streak betting you, so I should just keep doing that.
Yeah, we got to think of a bet soon. I'm getting the itch.
Don't worry, it'll come in it comes in waterfalls, and then there'll be a bunch of bets, and then we can vibe code a bet tracker, because I don't think, do we have anything outstanding right now?
Yeah, bit bonds.
Oh, you want to just send me the money now, or?
I'm holding out hope.
Was it Marty bets the U.S. Gov will issue bit bonds by the end of 2025? Oh, and you bet me and Beefsteak Josh on that one.
Ah, fuck. Each 200,000 sats. Damn, that's a big bet now.
No, it's each. Yeah, it's each two. No, it's.
You gave me 2 to 1 odds.
200. Yeah, so we would each pay you 400,000 sats.
Yeah.
If you win, but you have to pay us each 200,000 sats if you lose, which you're definitely gonna lose that one.
We'll see. Secretary Bessent. Think about it. Okay.
Oh, dude, we didn't have that there. That was crazy. Cabinet squabbles or whatever. Yeah. Can you, like, the quote was, I feel like I don't want to butcher it. I saw you posted it, right?
Yeah, he said,
what was the exact quote that he said?
It's like, let's step out. He was like, let's step outside. And Bill Bolte was like, what, to discuss our disagreement? He's like, no, I'm gonna kick your ass.
I'm gonna kick your. Did he say kick your fucking ass? Did he curse?
I think he did.
That's kind of unreal.
And bringing back dueling culture to
what a timeline. Politics.
Let's get the.
Oh yeah, here it is. I have it. It's either me or him, Bessent said to Malik. You tell me who's getting the fuck out of here. Or he added, we could go outside. And then Bill said, to do what? To talk? And he goes, no, I'm going to fucking beat your ass. They're both on the cabinet together. Or in the cabinet together.
The alpha gay treasury secretary just beating Bill Bolte's ass.
Pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. And that it was funny. Like, so Malik Omid from 1786 Capital. I think they were at that new club that they spun up. It's like $500,000 to get in.
Yeah, he's one of the owners of the club.
Yeah,
that's what makes it even funnier. It's like literally the owner of the club is trying to split it up, and that's who he was telling he was gonna.
It's getting fraught. Yeah, it's interesting. Many people think. I mean, there was rumors that Elon and Bessent got into it. Obviously, rumors.
The black eye.
Black eye. Many people think that Bessent may have gotten physical with Elon. Bill Pulte. It would be hilarious because if Scott Bessent just does have this like anger side, because when he's in public facing interviews, he's very stoic and put together, and seems like a very Very polite Southern gentleman, but he's got a fighting side to him. Yeah, he's just pretty funny if that's true. He's just beating the shit out of other cabinet members behind the scenes.
It seems like it's true.
What a world! What a timeline! All right, I can hear my boys coming in, so I'm gonna go hang out with them.
Love it. It's always a good plan.
All right, freaks.
Love you, freaks.
Heavy week, a lot going on. Focus on what you can control. Try to stay civil. Do not get dragged into the vitriol. It's easy. I'm guilty of it sometimes. It's very appealing. It's very easy. It's very easy to fall into it. Try to stay civil. Stay above it.
Hug your families. Stay on the stack sets.
Peace, love, freaks.